We've got another huge news week for Guild Wars 2 and its new expansion, Visions of Eternity. So, let's get straight to it. I want to show you guys what's going on and give you some theories I've got based on some new news we've gotten too. But first, let's take a look at this roadmap that ArenaNet put out on the official Guild Wars 2 Twitter page just recently, because tomorrow, the day after this video is uploaded, we're actually going to get a deep dive into the Elementalist, Mesmer, and Thief Elite Specializations. And alongside that, even more exciting than finding out what the classes actually do tomorrow, every single one of them is going to be playable in not even a month's time as a part of a 1-week open beta test, much like the ones they've done for previous expansions, like the last time we received a new specialization, or even like the Spears in MHWilds. Now, alongside this lovely roadmap is another teaser drop from the Guild Wars 2 Twitter, just around the same time as they put out this schedule. They also tweeted saying, "You know the Troubadour, Evoker, and Antiquary. Now, who do you think gets Gale Shot and Luminary?" Name dropping two mysterious titles here. Well, one of them a little bit more mysterious than the other. Let's talk about the Gale Shot first, because this is a very simple one. We know without a doubt what the Gale Shot actually is. So, let me show you exactly what we know and talk a bit about it so we can get on to the more interesting and confusing Luminary. So, the Gale Shot. What is a Gale Shot? Well, if we take apart the two words, a gale is of course a strong gust of wind, and shot is likely referring to any sort of fire released from a projectile weapon, like a bow. And of course, if we go and take a peek over at the press kit, we can pull up this image right here, which is actually titled Ranger.jpg, wherein we see somebody with what appears to be a bow of light. Looks like they're loosing an arrow there with their right hand, and they are surrounded by a little storm of white doves. Interesting. But this time on the Steam page, we have another image of a similar looking Sylvari, a bow made of feathers, an archer surrounded by doves, and lastly, we have this icon that we still haven't managed to attribute any of the elite specializations to. As you can see, it appears to have feathers coming off of the two sides of what make up this bow. Well, I feel like it's pretty hard to deny the similarities we're seeing here, as almost all of the design concepts present in this image not only reflect the screenshots, but also the very concept of a gale shot. So I feel like it's a very safe bet that this is the new Ranger Elite Specialization, the Gale Shot. Alright, but much more interestingly, what is the Luminary? Well, if you came here for my Evoker video, you might expect me to go down a really deep rabbit hole, and maybe I'm kinda sorta gonna do that today. I'm not gonna go quite as deep as I did with Evoker, but I do have some interesting ideas, and I really want to hear what you guys think about the Luminary. So, let me show you what we've got. First and foremost, we have this image right here. So, this image cropped up on some PC Gamer articles, and I managed to find its source, once again, in this press release kit. You can see it right here on the second row. This image is actually titled Guardian.jpg, and some of the news articles referred to it as Spooky Guardian. And what do we have? Well, we've got this Guardian clad in spiky blue armor, wielding a greatsword with this floating lamp next to it. So what can we pull apart from this image immediately? Well, the blue fire coming out of the lamp it's a very common trope. The idea of a blue flame coming from a lamp is often associated with the spirits of the dead. This is something ghostly, relating to maybe departed spirits, like a spirit guide of some sort. This magical lamp does definitely lean pretty well into the identity of a luminary, right? I mean, let's take a look at the definition of the word luminary. We scroll up here, And we've got two meanings: a person of prominence or brilliant achievement, or a body that gives light. Literally taking from the lumen part of the word. It's taken from the Latin root word lumen, which literally means light. That is what you get out of a lamp, right? Well, it does get a little bit more interesting when we scroll all the way down here to the etymology. We see the Middle English luminarie, lamp, source of spiritual light, is another origin for this word. So, if we're trying to find the origins of what ArenaNet might have been looking at when they designed this in order to reverse engineer what the luminary could actually be, well, I feel like it's pretty hard to deny the similarity between a lamp with a blue flame, a trope tied to ghosts and spirits, paranormal activity, and a lamp, source of spiritual light, being a basis for the word luminary itself. I mean, that checks out, doesn't it? Well, kind of. You see, there is one little issue here. Now, if we go over to the Guild Wars 2 Twitter account, and we pull up this image, this right here, by all accounts, appears to be the Guardian's icon. But if this is the Guardian, how exactly does this tie into the theming of the spiritual lamp, the blue flames guiding the spirits of the dead? Would they really design an icon for a class that doesn't have anything to do with the name or identity, which seems to be tied very closely to this blue spiritual lamp? I'm not so sure. So, I proposed a new theory that I'd like to share with you guys. When we look at the definition of luminary, we have two contrasting definitions. We have a body that gives light, the very literal definition. Lumen, as in light, airy. It's a thing that makes light. This would make a lot of sense for a class that carries around a magical lamp, but what about the other definition? A person of prominence or brilliant achievement. A luminary in the medical profession is the example here on the Merriam-Webster dictionary. If we look at this other dictionary here on vocabulary.com, we see, in scientific writing, Stephen J. Hawking is a luminary. People look up to this well-known scientist and author for his knowledge and insight. The idea here is that a luminary doesn't necessarily have to be a literal light, but it could instead be somebody who is at the forefront of their field. A very common thing to assign to somebody who's at the forefront of a scientific field. You know, like the engineer, perhaps. And so, let's take a look at what is more likely than not the engineer's icon. Right here, we have what looks like one of two things to me. This is either a black hole, as we can kind of see this orb, as it looks like it's not actually fully revealed. It almost looks like there's something it's sinking into, almost like the back of it is vanishing into an event horizon. Or this, on the flip side, could be representing the atomic nucleus. Maybe a sort of fantasy version of it, much more simplified, but carrying across the same idea. Now, how could a luminary tie to something like this? Well, of course, if we're looking at a black hole, maybe something tied to an astrophysicist, though maybe that pushes into being a little bit too magical for an engineer. Though, if you have any ideas pertaining to this being a black hole with an engineer, I'd love to hear it. But what I wanted to look at today was the idea of this being a representation of the atomic nucleus. And if that's the case, and if we're going off of the definition of a well-accomplished member of a scientific community or profession, maybe our luminary friend is actually based on a very particular individual by the name of Marie Curie. Now, I'm sure many of you have already heard of her, but if you haven't, this lady right here is Marie Curie, and she is responsible for a number of very important things. She was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, but she was also the first person to receive 2 Nobel Prizes. And what did she do that was so important? Well, she discovered radium. And among many other achievements, she's also the person responsible for suggesting that radiation could be used to treat cancer, and she is responsible for shaping and revolutionizing the human understanding of radioactivity. I think the luminary could be looking at someone who is a luminary in the sense that they light the way for other people, pushing the forefront of human knowledge. If that's the case, the luminary could very well be the engineer. And this icon could be representative of whatever it is this new engineer specialization is utilizing with their machines. So it could be something equivalent to a Tyrian discovery that is similar to nuclear energy. Or it could quite literally be black holes, the idea of being able to manipulate them, or maybe something designed around space travel even. Who's to say? Something maybe a little bit more sci-fi or ground in actual reality, real world science is what I'm betting on, if this is the luminary. So there are my current theories for the Gale Shot and the luminary. Gale Shot, I don't even think is really a theory. I mean, it's pretty hard to look at this and this and this and then hear the name Gale Shot and think that they're not all the exact same thing, and we do know for a fact that this is confirmed to be Rangers, so kind of hard to argue. But the Guardian being the luminary, while yes, the lamp does definitely make it seem like this is the luminary, the guiding light for the souls of the damned, perhaps, with this little spirit lamp, maybe collecting them and delivering them to the other side. But at the same time, with this icon here, I have a hard time believing that this is going to be called the luminary. It's just a shield. You can see there's a little claw scratch on it. It's some kind of heavily weaponized version of the shield intended for maybe an assault or a defense against a particularly violent enemy, with these little slots carved into the shield to allow the wielder to attack, whether it be with a polearm or a spear or something, or even firing some kind of projectile weapon through it, attaching a gun to the shield even. This just does not scream luminary to me. And so that's what's pushing me to think that maybe, just maybe, we're actually looking at a scientific luminary, and the likes of Albert Einstein or Marie Curie could be the inspirations for this new engineer spec. So, this was just a quick video I wanted to make because, well, we're about to get a huge news drop, and I did want to put these theories out there and see if I could get some responses from you guys before, you know, all is revealed. So, with that, I thank you kindly for watching, and when we get to hear more about the Evoker, I will be making a video and talking about everything that we learned. I'm so excited to see if the Firefox is all we have. Could the Otter and the Eagle and maybe even that little bastard Badger actually be what we're getting? Only one way to find out, and that is to tune in to the official ArenaNet stream or wait for my video. Alright, appreciate you guys staying to the end if you did, and I'll see you next time. Fairly well.